Hi everybody, Pete Sardis for The Lawyer You Know, and today we are going to talk about the Hulu miniseries that is set to premiere on March 3rd called The Dropout. We're going to talk about what's going to be in that particular miniseries and what surprisingly may not be in that miniseries. And I want to talk about how this miniseries affects the Sunny Balwani trial, which is scheduled to start on March 9th. Now, before we do that, as always, if you like this episode, please give me a thumbs up. If you're enjoying this series, please subscribe to our channel. And always, please leave me questions and comments below. So, what is this all about? For those of you that may not know, Hulu has a miniseries called The Dropout. It stars Amanda Seyfried. She is playing Elizabeth Holmes, and it also stars Naveen Andrews, who, for those that may not know his name, he was on Lost. He was also in The English Patient. He's a British actor with some pretty good fame. He's got a number of movies and shows in his background, who will be playing Sunny Balwani. The miniseries apparently is going to start somewhere in Elizabeth Holmes' teenage years, and it indicates on their, trailer that they're going to kind of follow Elizabeth Holmes from those teenage years through college into the rise and fall of Theranos. When I looked at the cast of characters that are playing the individual people, I found one specific name that was missing, which I thought was odd. And that name is Billy Evans. William Evans, for those of you that don't know, is Elizabeth Holmes' husband. They met in 2017. They got married in 2019, like in the middle of what would have been the fraud indictment for Elizabeth Holmes. They have a baby together. That child was born in August of 2021. And if you ask me, I believe that the birth of that child may have led to the delay in the Elizabeth Holmes trial starting. So we will watch that miniseries with you. We'll kind of go through it together and discuss what may be real, what came from the evidence from the trial, what came from the facts that we know about Theranos, and what is just made up TV drama. So we'll follow that as it happens. But surprisingly enough, Billy Evans apparently is not going to be in it this time. For those that don't know, Billy Evans comes from a pretty prominent family in Southern California. His family owns the Evans Hotel Group, a bunch of San Diego hotels like the Lodge at Torrey Pines, the Bahia Resort Hotel, Catamaran Resort Hotel and Spa, and the Bahia Belle cruise ship. Anyway, I guess I would have thought that he would have played a bigger role in this particular miniseries, especially since he kind of is instrumental in her trial. And obviously now that the trial is over and she's been convicted, he's got a child that he's going to be taking care of while Elizabeth Holmes is presumably going to be going to prison. But we'll see how that plays itself out. More importantly, I'm curious to see what Sunny Balwani's lawyers do with the fact the premiere is March 3rd and their trial is scheduled to start technically on March 9th, with opening statements being on March 15th. For those of you that have been following the Sunny Balwani trial, his lawyers have done a lot of motion practice, a lot of work before the trial began to try to get the landscape of his trial in a more favorable stance. One of the benefits of having a co-defendant that goes to trial first is the defense team for Sunny Balwani has had a chance to identify the exhibits. They've had a chance to hear some of the witness testimony. They've gotten the transcripts from that trial. So they've had a chance to kind of put together what the government's case most probably is going to look like against Sunny Balwani. And because of that, they have filed a series of motions to try to keep some evidence that they believe is prejudicial or obviously highly damning to Sunny Balwani out of the purview of the jury. I'll tell you, the judge has been very consistent in his rulings from what he ruled on Elizabeth Holmes' case to what he is ruling on the Sunny Balwani trial. He is pretty much following, lockstep with whatever he ruled in the Holmes trial. He's ruling for Balwani. There are some things that the judge is holding and deferring ruling on until the actual trial starts. One of those being whether or not when the lab director for Theranos took over, the new lab director, and determined that the Edison machine results were just not reliable, he wound up throwing out all of those Edison test results. And Sunny Balwani's defense team has filed a motion trying to keep that out of evidence. We'll see what the judge decides he wants to do. For those of you that don't know, Sunny Balwani is charged basically as a mirror defendant to Elizabeth Holmes, meaning he's charged with the same conspiracy counts and the same substantive counts of mail fraud against the investors, against the doctors, and against the patients. So we'll see how that comes together. The judge has already ruled and basically denied a number of the Balwani defense team's motions about keeping evidence out. For example, that Sunny Balwani knew that the technology that Theranos was touting was not functional and not capable of producing reliable results. They also tried, I should say, to keep out the fact that the company had ongoing profitability issues, and also that Sunny Balwani somehow knew that the relationship with the military just was not true, but allowed that information to go into the public eye. Judge already said that is part of the charging document. That is information that is provided in order to put Sunny Balwani on notice about what the government's case looks like. So those things are coming into evidence. So at this point, Sunny Balwani's case is going to be a little bit different, though, than Elizabeth Holmes, in the fact that the judge is getting together with the lawyers starting this Monday. I believe that's March 7th, and going to spend March 7th and 8th discussing what the jury questionnaire should look like for the prospective jurors that are going to be selected out of the panel. I think that that is wise, and Judge Davila is doing it, recognizing he's got this, a premiere of The Dropout coming out the week before. He also recognizes there's already a book, a movie, and all of the press coverage that happened for the Theranos trial out there. So I think he just wants to give the parties an opportunity to figure out what questions they need to ask potential jurors so they can not taint the jury panel and wind up having to throw the trial to a different time simply because there are not enough people to select an impartial jury from. The judge has also decided he's going to seat 12 jurors and 6 alternates as opposed to the 5 alternates Elizabeth Holmes had. And I think this decision comes from the fact that Elizabeth Holmes lost 3 jurors like the first couple weeks right out of the box. So the court just wants to be certain that there are enough jurors there to make sure that there's not a mistrial early on in this case. Obviously, giving both parties the opportunity to pick a good mix of jurors, to have an opportunity to identify people that are not tainted simply because they've watched too much Theranos/Elizabeth Holmes, Sunny Balwani drama on television. Other than that, we'll see how this thing comes together. We will follow The Dropout with you, and we'll kind of make some decisions about what is just Hollywood hype versus what is, yes, factual from the evidence that we saw at the trial, or what what came from just, word of mouth or things that may have been hearsay. We'll follow it with you and kind of give you information as the mini-series progresses. So, with that, if you've enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. If you enjoy this series, please subscribe. And as always, leave me questions and comments below, and we will see you soon.
Thanks for watching this episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you like this content, please share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe to our page and like our videos. If you want some interaction, get in the comments and we'll be sure to get back to you. If you want to know any more information about our firm or this page, you can find out in the description or visit tragoslaw.com. We post multiple times throughout the week, so make sure you hit that bell so you can get the notification and not miss out on the next episode.